So what's up?
Your picture is so much clearer than mine. Am I fuzzy?
Not really, no.
No? Okay. Nothing. This is so cool. I'm
You
really
know,
excited.
so I wanted to do this because I feel like what started everything for me was The Weekender, right?
Yeah.
And The Weekender was such a definitive point or part of my life, rather. And I thought it would be so cool to just kind of reach out to people that worked there at one point, whether it was with me or before me or after me, whatever it might be, and just kind of catch up because I literally have not seen you or spoken to you since you left The Weekender. I think back in, was it 2006?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we've connected, like we've seen each other on Facebook and stuff like that, but I don't think it's been like, anything where we've gotten to hang out or, um, I mean, I don't live in Pennsylvania anymore. I haven't lived in Pennsylvania for 7 years now.
I don't,
So,
I don't think I knew that either.
oh, really? Okay.
Not
Yeah. We have
until
a lot to
today when
catch up.
I was kind of creeping on your Facebook to kind of see what you're up to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've moved a lot. We have a lot to catch up on, but
Yeah.
it's so cool. I'm so excited for you too. I just think like The Weekender was such a nostalgic, just fun. It was probably, I mean, I was only there for 9 months. I mean, it's crazy what a short blip it was, but it's like some of the best memories I've ever had. And it was just the most fun and it was the best job. And, it's just when you said you were going to do this, and then when you said you were doing a podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe you haven't done this sooner. Like, this is so you and so like up your alley. I was so excited. So anyway,
Well,
I'm talking
thank
to
you. Thank you. This is Leslie. Leslie was a staff writer for The Weekender when I got hired back in 2005. I don't know exactly when you started, probably around that
you.
time.
Yeah, I started in May of 2005.
Okay, so you were May.
So,
I was September. So we
okay.
had, yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Really? You were September, but wait, were you interning there before you were actually on staff? Because
Yeah, I interned in 2004, though.
I thought,
See, this is why we're
oh,
doing
okay,
this.
okay, yeah, because I was like, you were, yeah, yeah, you were there a lot longer than, I mean, you had been around the whole time I was there. So,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that you hadn't come on officially until September. So,
Well, it's funny because I actually applied and interviewed at The Weekender, I want to say probably May of 2005 for a sales position. And our dear friend Janelle got it over
yeah,
me, which actually I think that worked out. Everything happens for a reason, and that happened, I think, perfectly because 3 months later I was offered the job in marketing, which I was probably better at. I was better at partying and screwing around than I was selling things. So
yeah, yeah. And when I got there, okay, so Janelle came in probably right after me, but when I got there, Katie was already there.
mhm.
We were right out of college. I mean, right out of college. It was just, and what a great job to have right out of
Yeah,
college.
I think I would have been fired from other jobs had I done the same thing at those jobs that I did at the Weekender.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I've just been thinking about it since you asked me to do this, and I'm just like, how did we get paid for that? I mean, well, I mean, I do know, like, we took our job very seriously, and I think we did a really great job. And I'm not just like tooting our own horn. I think it was some peak weekender while we were there. But it was just the most fun.
Yeah, so my I don't say fondest because it's not my fondest memory. My first memory of you, I mean not my first,
Oh
but do
gosh.
you remember when I made you cry?
Oh well, I mean, come on, John. That's not hard to do. I still cry about everything. No, I don't. Tell me. Help
No,
me
I was
remember.
I was telling my wife. So real quick, I wanted to kind of do this as like a "Where Are They Now" type segment as a part of my
Yeah.
podcast, um, just to catch up and talk about our memories and where we are today. Because where we are today is light years beyond where we were, 15 years ago. But no, that I made you cry because, and I, sorry, uh, You were the staff writer, so you also did like a lot of the I don't know if they're taglines or bylines rather for the man and model of the week.
Yeah.
So I had interns, and I remember when I was an intern, it was always like photo by John Popko. So like I had interns, and they were doing models and man of the week, and you kept forgetting to put their name as to who took the photo for the photo
Oh,
credit. And
yeah.
it was important to me because I remember when I was an intern, like I kind of cut them out and I put them in my scrapbook, and it was part of my thing for my wrap up, and I shared it with my professor or whatever. And it was like week after week, maybe it was like 3 weeks, but you kept forgetting. And I don't know if I got mad, but I like addressed it again, probably like in an aggressive way about it, and you cried.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
thought maybe I was gonna get fired at that point
Oh gosh.
because I was like,
Yeah.
I was still like new. It was probably my first month there. Like here I am walking in with.
Well, no, I mean, what's so funny is I'm a perfectionist and I wasn't even a perfectionist back then. And so if anything, it just struck a chord with me because I don't like to mess up and, um, but it's so funny too, because I had I just think about like even the lack of attention to detail I had back then. I mean, obviously, like you said, we're light years away from who we were then. And I think about who I was back then. And, I made a lot of mistakes, and we were kids. We were
I
growing
know,
up.
I
It
know.
was yeah. So,
Leslie, it's
but
been so long. I don't even remember your maiden name,
Martin.
Martin. So that's so easy. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Leslie
mean,
Martin.
you think about it. I mean, but I got married in 2007. So I
Oh,
was
geez. So,
married. Yeah, yeah. I've been married for it'll be 14 years here
wow.
soon. So,
Congrats.
thanks. But so I mean, I haven't been Martin for a long time, and I don't have it really anywhere. So I could see why that would be, it's so crazy how, because I do that all the time. I'll see people on Facebook and I know them by their married name now, and I cannot remember. Went to high school with them, can't remember their maiden name. So
Yeah. And we actually went to college together at King's College.
yep, yep, we did. Yeah,
It's crazy how time has, I feel like it's slipped away.
yeah. I still watch like college basketball and stuff with my husband, and I feel like I'm that age, and then I have to remind myself like, no, I am not that age anymore.
Well, see, I always do the reverse. I was just actually talking to Clyde the other day. He's a musician in the area, and I always thought he was older because when I met him at the Weekender, he was on stages playing in bands, and I just kind of put him ahead of me in age. And I said that I'll watch kids playing college football, and they're 18, and but even to this day, I still think that they're like in their 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny
Yeah,
how we remember things. I don't know. I always still feel like I'm that young person, or maybe I want to be. And like I have a 13-year-old daughter now.
that's
And
crazy.
yes, I have a 13-year-old. I have a 10-year-old boy, 13-year-old girl, 10-year-old boy, and a 7-year-old little girl. And so I think I'm cool, but then like, I have this 13-year-old daughter, and I mean, I think deep down she probably thinks I'm a little bit cool. I have to be cooler than
Sure,
some other, you know.
absolutely, hundred
I
percent.
don't know. Yeah,
And I
but
want to get into that too, as far as being a parent to three kids.
yeah.
But I mean, tell me a little bit about. Obviously, you started at the Weekender before I did. So, I mean, how did that happen? I mean, did you go to school for that? And you kind of like, how did that happen?
Okay, so we went to King's together, and I was an English literature major. And so it's funny though, because all throughout college, you know, nobody told me to go get like a teaching certificate. I could have gotten a teaching certificate for the same amount of 4 years I was there. I just had a straight English lit degree, which I still think is great because I'm well read. I write well. I was able to speak pretty well. So when I got out of school, actually, my friend Melissa
Hmm.
Lawless, she saw the Weekender ad in the paper, and she called me and she was like, "I think you would be great for this." And I knew Katie. Um, she was gross. Now she's Borkowski.
She was gross, wasn't she?
She was gross. Yep, Katie. Yep. Oh,
A joke. It was a
yeah,
joke.
yeah. Um, but she was working there. So I called her and she's like, oh my gosh, yes, you have to apply. And so I applied, and Joe's student was actually, I think he was just the editor at the time. I don't think he was the general manager, or I don't know. I can't
No,
remember.
he was the editor because he
Yeah.
was gone by the time I got there full time. I think
Yeah.
because Christy Greer was the
Christy was the
GM.
GM.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Christy left right when I got there.
Mm.
And then Rachel, I think Rachel became the GM. I don't know. It's also blurry, but Joe's student was the editor, and I came in for the interview. I was super nervous. He was amazing. And, I got the job. I mean, I had the job before I even graduated from King's, which was just
That's the dream,
really,
right?
it was really cool. And then to also work for this, arts and entertainment magazine, which was, I mean, you went out to eat in Northeastern Pennsylvania, and you immediately looked for the Weekender and opened it up to see what bands were playing where on the weekend, what bars. I mean, it's always been a great publication, but like I think it was just even the rivalry between Electric City, Diamond City was at a peak then. I mean, the readership was so high, and this was pre-internet. I mean, we didn't have a website then. I think we just started to get email addresses that you could email us, but we very rarely, got emails, and it was just purely driven by advertising and marketing. And but anyway, so I started in May 2005, and it was just awesome. My hours were 10 to 6. 21
Thank God.
21 years old, 10 to 6. So, we would work until 6 unless it was a Tuesday night
Yeah.
or a Wednesday, because Wednesdays were short for us because, Tuesday, and I forgot, what did we call Tuesdays? Was it pub? What did we call Tuesdays?
I don't know.
Remember, we had like a name for it, because Tuesdays, for anybody listening in the weekend, or Tuesday was we were there until the paper was done, literally until it was sent over to print. And so, depending on how well we did that week, it was either, like an 8-hour day or 12, 14. I mean, there were times we were there until, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
probably like into the morning.
It was late. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So, and then Wednesdays, but it was just a dream, 10 to 6. And then we would like go home for a few hours, and then wherever the marketing, wherever we were doing a marketing event that night, that's where we would go.
Yeah.
And,
And back then
repeat.
too, even if we weren't doing like an event, I mean, there was always a night of the week in Northeastern Pennsylvania that like had a dedicated bar that you would go to. Like, oh, I'm going to show my age here, but like Mondays, I think was Ale House.
Yep.
R.I.P. No longer exists. Tuesdays were Old Time Charlie's.
Old Time Charlie's. Yep.
Still operating. Then Wednesdays.
Crazy.
Oh man, I don't even know what that was.
I remember Wednesdays used to be, I know that I remember I used to go to Hiles up in Dunmore.
I thought that was Thursdays.
Oh, was it Thursday?
Maybe, well,
or
maybe
Whistles
was
Hiles was
Thursday.
also Monday sometimes too.
Hiles was Monday too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I know it was, and we went out, even if we didn't have a marketing event, we all went out and
together too, which was really cool. And I was just saying the other day, like our relationships were seriously like family. Like, we were brothers and sisters, and it was just like when we'd sometimes we'd fight as brothers and sisters, but we had a great time.
Yeah, and like we never took it personally. I mean, even I don't remember you making me cry, so obviously it didn't have that much of, I wasn't traumatized, but like
Good.
we just had this close-knit relationship where we just like we got over things, and there wasn't drama. There wasn't any drama. We were like the original Jersey Shore without the drama.
Yeah. And thank God there wasn't camera phones and things like that. At least for me.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah, we grew up in a good time. I mean, yeah, the things I could have got caught doing.
I know.
Oh man. But yeah, and one of the big events that happened when you were the staff writer and I came on board was Hurricane Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal, obviously. I know we did a big show at the Staircase in Pittston with Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah,
Um, doing
which was
the
just so cool.
yeah. Well, I mean, I remember like it happening, like not the show, but the hurricane. It was terrible. Um, but the show was great. I mean, Northeastern Pennsylvania came through again, like it always does, as far as helping raise funds for good causes. And then, so you're there for 9 months. Were you there for the 2006 Reader's Choice Awards?
No, but I came.
You
I
came,
came.
okay.
Yeah, I was there. Yep, because I had left. I had left the weekender
I felt like you were there. Yeah,
in December of 2000. Okay, yeah, I left in December of 2005, and I that's when I started working at Mohegan Sun. But I came back for um, the party.
yeah. I won't. I don't miss those Reader's Choice events. In that we literally hand counted every single ballot until we got the internet, so to speak, where we got
Yeah,
online voting eventually. But even then, I think we did a combination of online and paper, which was just we'd go to Rachel Pugh's house and we'd have wine and beers and we would count Reader's Choice ballots, and it was fun. We made the best of it, but I don't miss those days.
yeah, yeah. I remember that first party was at it was called O, right? It was
Oyster, yeah,
yeah, Oyster, like Genetti's, right?
and Genetti's, yep,
Yep. Yeah, I remember that party. I was already gone, but I had a really good time that night.
yeah. I think that's the night that Paul Young did Katie jump on Paul Young's back?
Paul at Polly from Panacea.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like
I
that
don't
happened.
that could have been.
And
That could have
somebody was
been.
riding a what do you call it? One of those carts for your luggage and shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure there's
we had such a good time. I mean, um the model of the year party
yes,
at the
yes.
Woodlands. Um I don't know if you remember what happened there.
Um, I don't. I
Okay.
was probably really drunk.
So speaking of casting votes, we had to do it all manually. So like, I mean, not manually, but like you had literally had to write who you were voting for model and man of the year. And so it was at the Woodlands, it was in the ballroom, and it was packed. I mean, I mean, our events just were so packed. I mean, it was just the thing to do. And I remember it was like a last call to vote for model and man of the year, and people started coming at the table and they started shoving. And there was a girl who came up and she was like trying to vote, and she started to push, and I told her to like just like step back, and she went and grabbed my hair and pulled my hair, and she scratched me, and I started
Wow.
to bleed. I had like blood running down my arm, and I don't even know what came over me, and I just went and I just clocked her. And
Did you really?
yeah,
How
yep.
do I
And
not remember this?
oh, because I it's so funny because Rachel Pugh like came and like just pulled us apart, and like bouncers came and she was out of there, but like everybody was like, where did that come from? Because me, I was always very like, I mean, I had fun, but I was kind of like mild mannered and
Yeah.
like, not somebody you would think that would just like, you know, throw a punch. And so I think about that now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. My kids actually were just asking the other day in the car. They're like, did mom ever get in a fight? And my my husband's like, yep, and like went and told them the whole story. So I feel okay telling it on this podcast. But I mean, and like I was at work. I was at work.
Well, that's what I'm thinking now. Like, all right, if that happened in this year, 2020, it would have been
Oh,
on someone's phone, on the internet, and you probably would have been fired.
oh, and like assault, or I mean, granted, you know, she scratched me and I may have been defending myself, but I
Sure.
mean, it's just such a different time. But we it really was some of the best times ever. And you were like, I mean, you were Johnny Weekender.
I was. I was. And I was given that name just so everyone knows. I did not
Oh,
claim
yeah.
myself.
Who dubbed you Johnny Weekender? Do you remember?
Jay, we call him Jay. But Jaconda Cortazzo of Lesson One.
Okay. Yeah, I
He's the one who
remember.
started calling me Johnny Weekender, and it kind of just stuck.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where people thought I owned the thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, you were. You were GM. I mean, you were GM, right?
I got
Before
there
you.
eventually. Yeah, yeah. Before I
Yeah.
left. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
9 years, I think it was, if I
You were.
count the '04 to 2013. So yeah, 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And it was sad too, because every year went by, and I'd like lose another one. Like it was
Mm.
you, and then it was Katie, and then it was Janelle, and it was Tiffany, and then it got to a point where it's like,
Damien.
yeah, Damien left, I think 2006. Yeah, it was 2006.
Yeah.
And I was like the last man standing at one point. Rachel finally left, but which was good for me because I got promoted. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's sad how those times have to come to an end. And even as like towards the tail end, I mean, it wasn't nearly what it was, when we first started by any means. I mean, the internet took over, Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and the advertising was affected by it, and new ownership was not great, and it was just
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to leave on my own terms. Um, Kind of, because I did give my notice and they did walk me out.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was going to Time Shamrock, which,
Yeah. So it was a
for radio. I mean,
competitor. Yeah.
yeah, I got it, but I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't cry. Because
Yeah.
that's not the way. I was 30. How old was it? Time 32, 30, no, 31. No, I would have
7
been
years
30.
ago.
So 30,
Yeah.
30. I was 30. So yeah, I was, a grown man crying, but it's not the way I kind of saw myself leaving, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so you were
Yeah.
there for 9 months.
Only
Why
nine
did you leave?
months. Well, so the Weekender was amazing. Um, and I loved it. So I was a staff writer. So I got to do things I never would have dreamed of. I mean, got to interview people, I mean, Kelly Clarkson, as soon as she was, just off of American Idol or not even American Idol, it was after her first album and she was just on fire, and Meatloaf. And I mean, just like, it was just like, I mean, I got to interview, the guys from Breaking Benjamin. We got to, I mean, hang out with them obviously. And Nick Coyle when he was in the drama club, but, Lifer. And I mean, just things that I never imagined I would be able to do. But I was just kind of not sure where it was going to be going for me. I was a staff writer. I would have loved to have been editor. But Alan was editor at the time, and I knew that, he been with the Times Leader forever. So I was just kind of thinking about where I was going. And so the casino came into town, and I was friends with the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce at that time, because we were all just that's when the revitalization of Wilkes-Barre was really big. It was, they had that whole campaign with the bees and everything. And, the downtown was just revitalized. So we were really close. Everybody was really close with the people at the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we were all just working kind of together. So we had a lot of connections. And we were at dinner, and she said that she had a meeting with the CEO of Mohegan, and asked if I was interested, and she would pass along my resume. And I just was like, sure. I mean, I loved the Weekender, but I was like, I'm going to take this shot, because at this point it was one of the biggest employers coming to the area.
Sure.
And so I ended up getting a call and interviewing, and the person who actually interviewed me is my husband. That's how we met.
Hmm.
I don't know if you knew that.
I think it did.
Yeah. So and it was funny because he called, and I don't know if you remember, but I had my nose pierced. And
Yes.
and so Katie, and Katie is still like my best friend to this day. She I had this interview, and I had to take out my nose ring, and I'm like, if I don't get this job, I'm not, I'm keeping my nose ring. So we went into the bathroom at the Weekender because I was leaving the Weekender, go to the interview and coming back. And like, the nose piercing, like it, like corkscrewed. So it was like flushed to the inside of your nose. So Katie's in the bathroom and she's got her finger up my nose and she's like helping twist and pull out my nose ring. Like, I mean, what a friend. Like she just right up there,
Yeah.
helped me get my nose ring out. I went to the interview, came back, we like put it back in, and I ended up getting the job. But it was really sad. I mean, I loved the Weekender. I loved it, but I just knew it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And it really was like kind of, I mean, that decision has determined the rest of my life because I met my husband and, now we've lived in 4 states and have 3 kids. And so,
Happily ever after, right?
well, I mean, oh yes, we're very happy, but it's not like, keeping it real. I mean, obviously it's, there's been lots of ups and downs, but we're very fortunate and blessed and we've been together for 14 years. So,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, marriage is not an easy thing to navigate for a lot of people, and then you add in job changes. You kind of alluded to that, having to
hmm
move. You add in kids, and you add in 2020 to that, and I can't imagine. So, I mean, you got to the Mohegan Sun, met your husband, and what did you do at Mohegan Sun?
So I worked in human resources. So I got the job as their internal communications. So it was in their human resources department. So I was basically like internal PR for the casino. So like they wanted all communication centralized internally. So I did, I wrote all of the communications that it went out to all the employees. And then I also did um, all the employee events, employee recognition, stuff like that. I was just basically like, I was like the head of the culture, just keeping, and then I got into like some hiring and things like that. And then when my husband and I started to date, I moved into guest services at the casino. So we didn't have a guest service department, so we created the guest service department and started to doing um, um, guest satisfaction surveys. So we had like a team where we would call people if people rated us poorly, just how we can make it up, things like that. And so I did that until I was pregnant with my first child, and um, and then I stayed home and I would come back every once in a while when they had, because there was phases of hiring. So when, the casino opened and then the table games opened, I would come back and I would do some job fairs and hiring and stuff and just worked on an as needed basis. But I was basically, home with my kiddos, and
Which is
I've
great,
done
right?
some, yeah, I mean, it was definitely an adjustment, I'll tell you, because I've always worked. Um, I worked all throughout college, and and I had a job since I was 15. And then I worked with my husband. So we would, I worked at the Weekender, we would go out all the time. And then I worked at the casino and we would work until like 7, 8 o'clock at night, go and get like a late dinner, um, and then all of a sudden I was home, you know, 13 hours a day by myself. And it was an adjustment, but it's been amazing and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
Yeah, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think every woman wants to be a stay-at-home mom until they're actually a stay-at-home mom, because it is not the joy that you think it is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's probably amazing, but like it's different because then you're like you said, you go from working for a living to like being cooped up in the house all day with a child,
yeah.
like maybe initially, especially is crying and all that kind of stuff. So it's like maybe this is not what I wanted with my life.
Yeah, it's hard. I think I struggled with it a lot. It was an identity shift because
Yeah.
you naturally a lot of, and I think, I'm sure probably a lot of people can relate to this generally, but also this year, it's like you identify yourself a lot of times with what you do. And so, when you are, oh, I was this and I was that, and this was my job, and then you're at home, it's just like you have this shift in identity and you're like, okay, well, what am I now?
Yeah.
And not that, I mean, it's been wonderful. It's been great, but there is that piece that I've, and I still do miss it, just like having something, carving something out for myself,
Right.
or, um, and I think I still struggle with that, even though I wouldn't change it if, I've been able to be here for everything. And my kids, I'm always here with my kids. And even now, like in this pandemic, my kids I think they've gone to school 30 days, since March 13th. And
Yeah.
so I don't know how parents do it that, I mean, don't have the flexibility that we do, that I'm just home and I'm able to just be here for when, school's canceled. And
Yeah, I don't
uh,
know. That was one thing I was like, thankfully, our son, he'll be 3 in a couple weeks, but like he's not like daycare is still open, but it wasn't for like 2 months. Um, but I mean, how do two parents who have to work, who have children who need to be taught school, how do they do it? How do they do it? Um,
yeah, I mean, so many things have been called into question this year of, and just where our priorities lie too. And it's been, I mean, I think it's just been difficult for everybody. And, we've moved several times, and we've, had job loss. And so my husband's actually starting his own business right now. Well, he did start it, but it's like in the middle of a pandemic. It's just, everything is challenging. It's
yeah.
challenging, so.
And what's he doing?
So, okay, so he was at the casino, and then we moved to Connecticut, where, we moved to Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, and he was their vice president of human resources for a few years. And he left there, and it's public knowledge, but he went with Bobby Soper, who was the CEO of Mohegan Sun, Pennsylvania, and there was just some tribal politics, and they just did like basically a change of command. And so we went from thinking we were going to be there forever and having ultimate job security in 2017 to just, no idea what we are going to do. So he started his own consulting company, and we went down to Florida for a year. We just lived in Florida for a year. We didn't know it was only going to be a year, but I guess like it was just our year of refreshing. And Bobby was down there, and they were doing some consulting work together. So, we didn't know if there was going to be international travel. It was just a kind of a nice place to park. We were right outside of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And so we lived down there for a year. And in the meantime, my husband started to consult for a CBD company out of Kentucky. And my husband's from Louisville, Kentucky. That's where we are right now. And he started to help with the company because he has a background in industrial organizational psychology. So he like kind of builds businesses, like the organizational structure of businesses. And so he started to help with that, and it kind of just took off. And so now they have a fully vertical CBD company. It's called Applied Botanics, and they have a line of CBD, and then they also have a pet line too. So they have, I mean, I never would have thought we would be in this industry, but I mean, they have this warehouse, and it's a huge chemistry lab, and they do all the extracting and, all of these really technical things that I have no idea what it means. But basically it's just, CBD is a chemical in the, marijuana plant, and it has a lot of great, it's been great for people's health. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see the advancements in, that kind of stuff, especially marijuana. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a user. I mean, I have in the past. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at
Yeah.
it at all. Plus, I'm subject to random drug testing, but it's cool to see the advancement of that, and especially for people's health. So,
Yeah, been really interesting. Like I said, we never thought we would be in it, and my husband didn't know anything about it. He just started to help them build the business, and he's been kind of self-taught. And he is doing a study right now with a biology company in California, and out of Brown University that's looking at CBD and COVID. And we just never would have thought we would be in this position, but it's been really cool. He's been able to be his own boss, and it's helping people. I mean, he's getting, he has a friend whose son had Tourette's and would have like tics, and once he started using the CBD, the tics went away. I mean, just the stories have been awesome. So that's what we're doing, and I hope to eventually be help with the business when things change. My littlest one went to kindergarten last year, and I was going to take some time and then like start helping, and then COVID hit in March, and so I've just kind of been
So
waiting.
you've had a hell of a year, with the new job for your husband and that venture. And how have you guys been able to kind of maneuver through the year 2020? I mean, as a parent, there's so much uncertainty. Like, how do you deal with that? And you have 3 kids. I mean, like, I'm a
Yeah.
nervous wreck with one. Like, and again, like, he's a certain age where he's not in school. He's not in grade school, so it's a little different in that sense. But like, and he's so young. He won't remember this moment, and hopefully things get better where he's not really affected by it. But like, you have kids that know what's going on. Like, they're going to
Hmm.
school in masks, or just dealing with things that they'll remember forever. Like, how do you navigate that?
I mean, I try to be as truthful with my kids as I can, and the appropriate truthfulness for their age. I don't want to give them too much that they can't handle, but I've always just tried to tell them the truth in a way that is transparent and what they can handle, but won't scare them. And so, we've just been very frank about what's going on. And, if anything, I just want there to be communication between my kids, and I want them to be able to tell me things. I don't want them to not be able to. So I just try to be pretty open with that. But like, yeah, it's been difficult. I mean, we've seen different things. I mean, I have a 13-year-old girl who is just, I mean, super social. I mean, I think I have to say that she has probably fared with it the best because of social media. Social media is like a double-edged sword. It's terrible in so many ways, but then she's been able to connect with her friends, because they text all the time, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat. It could be really terrible when there's being left out because, where we didn't have to deal with it. And I don't know if guys had to deal with this as much, but like, if you were left out when we were younger, you usually didn't really know about it. Now you have to like live someone's entire night through stories and snaps and everything. So it's hard in that part, but she's been dealing fairly well. But my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old, they've had a little bit of a harder time because they're just obviously a little bit more isolated and secluded. And so we've just had to keep an eye on those things. But it's difficult. I mean, it's just everyday parenting is really difficult. And the problems, just progress. It's just each phase has its own little things. And I think that's just the hardest thing in life is just, I will be successful if my kids grow up and they're, happy and well adjusted. And by happy, I mean, we all have our difficulties, but just overall able to deal with life,
Yeah.
independently and able to take things on, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think being a teenage girl in a normal world is probably difficult. Add all this
Yeah,
to it.
I know.
I
I
think
mean,
growing
like
up.
you,
Good.
no, I was like, just, I mean, think about if we had the social media when we were the weekender. I mean, it
Yeah.
was,
I mean, I probably would have been fired earlier. Not earlier.
yeah,
I would have been fired because I probably would have. At that young age, I probably would have mouthed off. Back to somebody.
right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a different world, and it happens so
Yeah.
quick too. It happens so quick. It's like you blink, and it's
Yeah.
like,
I know. I know. I can't believe your son's 3 already. He is just absolutely adorable.
Yeah, I have to start keeping a notebook in my pocket because he's saying stuff now that it just cracks me up. And I can't
Oh,
remember
you
all of it.
have to write it down because
Yeah.
there are so many things that I wish I had written down and that I didn't. And I know, fortunately, I have video, and it's some of it is so stinking hilarious. But you have to write it down because it's those years are just so precious. They really are. I probably have five more kids, but you know,
Are
for
you
my
done?
sanity, I can't.
Are you
Yeah.
done?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not that I want
We're
to get into that.
done.
I'm sorry for even asking.
No, 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 no. No, but I just love that whole I love the baby phase. Some people don't like the baby phase, but I just loved it. So
And you had kids fairly early, and I mean I say early because
yeah.
I guess for our generation it was kind of. Am I wrong in saying that early?
No, I was 24. I was
Okay,
24.
early, yeah,
That was hard. That was hard
yeah.
because all of my friends were still in the party scene and I was at home with a newborn.
Hmm.
Like I said, I love my husband. We fell head over heels and everything just happened super quick for us, and I wouldn't change our story at all. But it was like I was just all of a sudden I was out partying and having a great time living this like, you know,
A
this
24-year-old
single
life.
life. Well, yeah, and
Yeah,
then all of a sudden I have a baby, and it was really hard. I'd have friends call me and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm feeding the baby. They're like, well, weren't you just feeding the baby? I'm like, yeah, babies need to eat like every 2 hours. And
yeah.
and it was just hard. And that was the dawn of Facebook too. So I remember even seeing like pictures and just, and it was rough, but then now I'm reaping the rewards of it because I have, I mean, my kids are like really self-sufficient, like they
Yeah.
can get up and pour themselves a bowl of cereal and, let us sleep in. And, I had a friend in Connecticut who was like, if your kid can throw up in the toilet by themselves without missing, you're over the
You
hump.
made it, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're there because it's like it's an aha moment.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I just turned 38. So he'll be 3. So I was 35 when he was born. And we had him later in our lives because my wife was in school forever because she's super smart and decided she wanted to be like a doctor.
She's
And
a
then
pharmacist.
she's a
Is she a farm?
pharmacist, yeah. But so she wanted to be a doctor initially. Well, first it was pharmacist, then doctor, then back to pharmacist. But like it was 4 years of undergrad, then it was I want to be a pharmacist, but she's like, in case I don't get into pharmacy school, I'll go for like a year towards my master's. There's 4, there's 5, 1 year towards master's, and she got into pharmacy school, so it was 9 years total. So that was the main reason. But I mean, we had it, and she's 4 years younger than me, so we had it was nice because she was still young. I met her when I was 25. I wasn't ready to stop partying yet, and she just started partying. So it was a perfect. We grew up together in a perfect way, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. But you know, thinking about it now, like when my son is 16, I'll be however old I'll be, but like old. Like right now, I bend over and my knee hurts. So it's like I wish
Yeah.
that we had that. And I mean, honestly, I was in the mindset of if we have kids, we have kids. If not, that's cool too. And then he was born. I was like, wow, I wish I did this a long time ago because well, I should say after the first 3 months, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Mhm.
Because the
Yeah.
first 3 months, I don't know about you, but it was for me, it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
It's a shock to your system.
yeah, and it's like, why did we do this again? This is not what
Hmm.
I signed up for. This kid doesn't sleep.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. I have to say, I've just loved watching you become a father on Facebook because I mean, there's been so many times where you've written something and it's just like choked me up. You could just like see just the love that you have. And it's just really, I don't know, when you grow up with people and, when you see them at a stage in their life where they're just super happy and killing it and then have this beautiful family, it's really cool. And, your little boy and your wife, you have a beautiful family. So it's been really,
thank you.
really, really cool. really cool to see.
Yeah, I don't know what I did to deserve all this, but I'm not going to ask questions because I'm definitely blessed beyond what I ever thought was possible. Um, but this is awesome. I'm so happy for you and your happiness, and it's kind of cool because I feel like I don't know that I've ever felt this way. Definitely not towards you or people that I'm friends with. But you see people and you're like, "Ugh," maybe it's jealousy, but like you kind of especially when you're young, right? You're very competitive and you're kind of like, I want that for me, or they don't deserve that. And like I'm at an age now where I'm just like, I'm so happy seeing people happy. Um,
Mhm.
and I was part of a wedding business a few years ago, and I've kind of like gotten back into that. I can't talk about it too much, but um, I I just like seeing people happy. Like I'll cry out of happiness, but seeing other people happy, and it's a cool place in life when you get to that point where like you can just be happy for other people because you're happy with your own life. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. And that's one thing too. Like I'm so grateful for, Facebook and social media because having moved as much as we have and been out of the area, I just I don't get to see people. And especially when I come home, it's just like to try to see everybody. It's just so hard. And it's so funny. Last year, though, we had a surprise party for my husband at Rodano's. And then, so we wanted to go out after.
Uh oh.
So, oh, it's so much has changed there. I mean, and I just have such a soft spot. This will be the first time in my life I won't be in Pennsylvania for Christmas. Like not Christmas Day, but just even to visit. I've come home or I've been there for all 37 years. So it's really really sad and bittersweet. But it's just it will always be home. And people could say whatever they want about Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, but like it's home. And I don't know if you I mean I think people appreciate it, but like when you leave it's just I don't know, there's just something, it's just going back is just so nice. So but we're like, okay, where should we go? And I had no idea where to go, and we wanted to go within walking distance. So we went to, like, I don't know, there's a bar right next to Rodano's now. They're like,
Franklin's.
actually, yeah. And
Yeah.
then there's like one right next to it too. Like they're like you can go to the other side of it. Is that like it's like two bars in one sort of.
Oh, what year was this?
This was last year. It was
Oh,
like,
it had to have been Franklin's then. Yeah, because it's
oh, okay. Or
Franklin's
so
and
maybe
then
it's attached to Rodano's then,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we went to Franklin's and then we wanted to leave there. So we went over to, and I don't even know what it's called now, but we went over to what was the Elbow Room.
The elbow room.
um,
Oh, it
Across
was
from King's.
Gondas. Remember it was Gondas?
Gondas.
Yeah. So it's
Yes.
been Vesuvio's for
Vesuvio's. It was
a
Vesuvio's.
long
Yeah.
time now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went over there and we had like it was a really fun night out. But like I just going in there, I just remember being in college and going over to Gonda's and getting like a hoagie or
Yeah.
like and just being on that campus. And you just look around, you're like, how in the world did 15 years go by? And like it's just like
It's
a
crazy.
blink.
It's
And I'm like,
crazy.
I feel like I should still be a student here, but you know
Is there
clearly not.
anything is there anything that whether it was college or the weekend, or is there anything that you would do over again given the chance?
Yeah, well, I have interests now that I didn't have then, and I think that's what's so hard is, you know, when you're 18 making a life decision about what you want to do for the rest of your life. I wish I just had more knowledge about the things that were out there to do. I'm super into um I love true crime and forensics. And um I think I would have maybe like wanted to do something like that. Or, King's had a fantastic physician's assistant program, which, I know because Dave Ermack is, one of your close friends. And
Yeah.
he was, you know, he went through it, and it was just like, I just wish I had more knowledge about the things that were available out there to do, because, and like, I mean, you know, hindsight's 2020, but it's like, I didn't know then that I would have these interests, but I just wish I was a little bit more informed of the things that I could do, you know, and
Yeah, and I don't know if that's like our fault or if it's like maybe it's half of our fault and it's half of our guidance counselor's fault because like I look back and I mean I took the path that I took because I knew that I wanted to be involved in music. And I
mhm.
think I got lucky um, with the Weekender because it was arts and entertainment, and you know, obviously, music is a part of that. But like, I don't remember having a lot of guidance as far as like, um, you know, you need to do X, Y, and Z if you want to get, you know, to point A. I don't. It's weird.
I totally agree with you. I don't think there was a lot of guidance. I remember actually going to like somebody at King's and taking a quiz about my interests after I had already declared a major, and I was like looking for like internships or something. It was just way, you know, like way after the fact. And so, I mean, that's the only thing. And I've just thought about now as my kids are getting older, like the things that I would like to do, and I don't know what that would be. And I always kind of sell myself a little bit short, and you know, I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I'll go back to school for this. And I'm like, I can't go back to school now. And my husband will be like, why not? You
Yeah.
know, like what, you know, and I guess it just overwhelms me a little bit, the thought of it. And, you know, but so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just, you know, I'm getting to this point where my kids don't need me as much. They still do, but they don't need me as much. And so I want to, you know, I want to be there for them, but I would also like to, you know, figure out something for me. And so, and I would love to do some of the things I'm interested in, but we'll see. And that's, I listen to podcasts all the time. And so when I found out you were doing a podcast, I was just so excited. I was about 3/4 of the way through your first podcast too. I love that. Like it was like almost 2 hours, which is fantastic because I like long podcasts.
It was much longer than I had thought it would be, but like again, like the goal for this was just to kind of, you know, whatever happens happens. I didn't want to set a time limit because I didn't want to feel rushed. Um, I just kind of wanted to see where it went, and you know, it was like I blinked and it was 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh Jesus! I mean, people's attention span are not that that good these days, and I mean, especially like what we're doing here, me and you. I, I would assume that probably only, you know, Katie and Janelle and Rachel would probably be the only ones that listen to these. So
Yeah.
this is more for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hope you guys enjoy it too. I mean, it's definitely something that I wanted to have a documentation of. And I told my wife it was like probably 4 years ago that I wanted to do a podcast, and for no other reason other than to have like this documentation. And I just wanted to like interview my friends, and just so when I'm 80 years old, I could say, you know, Amanda, get my tapes. So I could,
Yeah.
you know, put the headphones on and remember the times I don't remember.
Yeah.
Um, so this is cool.
It
I mean,
it is cool. I told my kids that I was going to be on a podcast, and they were like, "What?" Like they were like, "Mom, are you like legit or what?"
yeah,
Or you know, it's
you know,
just
tell them like
they're
I have like 1 million listeners. They don't know. Mm,
they're like, "What are you going to talk about?" I'm like, "Come on, you know, give me at least some credit." I
yeah,
mean, you know,
it's already been an hour, so yeah, yeah, plenty of
has it been out? Look at that. Yeah, but no, it's been awesome listening to the first podcast, and you just have such a niche in the you know, music scene, and you've helped the local music scene so much. It's just crazy. I mean, you know, I mean, you know everybody, and everybody knows you, and like even the things you're doing to help promote right now with, you know, I mean, people are just suffering with being everything's closed, and
yeah.
you know,
Well, it's you know, for me it was twofold with the shirts for the scene. I know that's what you're kind of referencing. My radio show was put on hiatus. Um, that's fine.
which is so yeah, I
It's
listened
fine.
to that, and I yeah, I was like, Christmas music, like okay, but okay,
Yeah. It's their radio station, it's their money, the names
Yeah.
in the building. So
Yeah.
I was never mad. I was never mad at all. I was just kind of like, man, but like in the same sense, like I'm not stupid. Like I knew the day was going to come eventually because that's just what happens in radio. I just didn't know it was going to happen that soon. But
Mhm.
I would, so selfishly, I was like, what? I feel like I need the local scene more than they need me. Like who am I? You talked before about having an identity. Like it happened, and like I still have a job. My primary job is sales. I did the radio show as just a passion thing. I never got paid for it. Um, but so I didn't get fired, but like emotionally, I felt like I was fired, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like who am I? Like, and I always say, like, I hosted a show on Saturday nights at 9 o'clock on a local radio station in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Not setting the world on fire, but that gave me a sense of purpose. And so when it ended, I was like, well, who am I? What do I do? Like, how do I continue being what I've been for? I mean, it was 3.5 years on the radio, but this goes back to '04 when I was started at the Weekender. So I was like, man, like the industry in general has been crushed, and the bands especially they haven't been able to play shows. If they're not playing shows, they're not making money. If they're not playing shows, they're not selling merch. And I was like, Axelrad had this great idea back in like April, May, June to help local businesses. What if I just stole the idea and just made it, focused on bands? And I asked their permission. I needed their help anyways to print the shirts, and they're like, "Yep, love it, let's do it." And Shirts for the Scene was born. And it's funny because when you host benefits, and I'm sure you were part of many. I mean, we talked about the one with Breaking Benjamin for the Hurricane Katrina. Whenever you do benefits or charity events, you're always like, all right, who can we get to play the show so that way people come and donate money, and you always use the bands, right? But we've never given back to the bands for all their help that they've given over the years. So I
It's
felt like
true.
this was a way for us to kind of help them. And it's a terrible time of year. Unfortunately, the entire world is going through what they're going through, but I guess any little bit helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
like even going back to, you losing your radio show, I mean, it's just kind of crazy the way things work out because had that not happened, maybe you wouldn't have done this. And,
I'm
podcasts are just, it's just, it's such, I have actually thought about, I would love to do I mean, I don't know what I would do, but
do it,
I think it's so cool. And the fact
do
that
it.
like, and that's the thing I admire about you. You're like, this happened. You're like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast, and we're like, people talk and then you're doing it. And I just think it's really cool. And when you messaged me and was like, would you be interested? I was like, you want to talk to me? Like I sometimes feel like my blip on the Weekender was so short that like, like I'm like, I wonder if people even remember I worked there, So it meant a lot to me when you
It
reached out.
again. I'll be selfish in this and say I don't care. I mean, if someone listens to this and says, "Oh, that's cool," like, and they're introduced to you, that's great too. But like, I just think it's a good documentation to have, and it's selfishly it's for me too because I hadn't seen you for probably 14 years
Mm-hmm.
or longer since you left. I mean, obviously you said like, we have Facebook, which is great, and we can kind of see a glimpse into each other's lives. But outside that, I mean, this is the longest conversation we've had in 14 years. So I just thought it was a great
I
way
know.
for all of us to reconnect, and I hope that people like Rachel Pugh will listen to this and kind of be reminded of your time there, and or whoever else was there. Like, I just
Oh
hope.
yeah.
And I was like, maybe we should do like a whole like, and maybe this will be like the grand finale where like we all jump on one of these calls and kind of like
I
all
think
hang
that'd be
out.
really
Maybe
cool.
that might be, and I just thought of that now, but I kind of wanted to get a one-on-one with everybody that
Yeah.
was once there, just to, and hopefully
Do
I'd
you
like.
have everybody? Do you have everybody like cute? Like
Yeah, I mean, Damien agreed to do it. Rachel's in. I think Joe Student is going to do it.
oh,
Christy Greer was going to be my first guest, only
like
because I was like, all right, well, Christy gave me the internship, that started it all. Like, let's start with her. But I got a sense that she was getting cold feet. So I'm like, I gotta get this on the get going on this. So I was like, all right, well, I'll reach out to Leslie. Meanwhile, the reason why I hadn't heard back from Christy was because she was digging in like bins of old weekenders, just doing some research.
Oh,
She,
naturally,
she
she's
texted, yeah, she
prepared.
texted last night. I'm like, oh, you know what? Full transparency. I kind of moved on from you as the first guest, but I'm glad you're going to be prepared. So,
Well, you could edit this and still have her as the first guest, and
no.
nobody will know
No,
the difference. But
she's prepared now, so she's ready.
and how about Katie and Janelle? Are they on
Katie's
board
in.
too?
I don't know if did Janelle respond to me? I don't think she responded to me.
Janelle's one
No.
of my favorite stories. Do you remember when
Oh,
the ad copy got messed up? And I forget what business it was for, but it was supposed to be specializing in Northeast PA's best um uh
home
oh my
fries.
god, home fries, and it was home fires.
Home fires. Yeah, that's a terrible ad. Oh, I
I
mean,
mean,
like back
we
then, like
just laughed,
oh,
like,
she was the best for a good laugh. Yeah,
oh.
looking back at this now, like, I did message her. She read it, didn't respond. Janelle, if you're listening, I'm calling you out right now.
Janelle, you need to respond. You need to come on. We need to hear some of the funny stories,
Oh,
because
she was. I
we
remember her
can't
walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper on her feet. I remember me and Tiffany. The office was big when we were at that time of our lives. We hid her phone in the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Uh, oh yeah, we had a
We
blast.
had so much fun. I mean, remember when like Damien painted the Weekender wall? We were just got like we had such autonomy to do, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it was just crazy. And there was a lot of change there too. We went from like Knight Ritter to I don't know who bought the Times Leader after that. I can't remember, but it just always kind of maintained, and
yeah. It's
I don't know.
sad. I know that Weekender wall has definitely been covered up.
It has.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It
it's a
was so
shame. I
well
mean,
done. It was
yeah,
so
Damien did a great job. You know what's
yeah.
funny too? Like, and I'm not going to talk shit on them, but like, I almost feel like I shouldn't be giving them this much promotion, so to speak, because I mean, it's not the Weekender. I think still exists online, so it hasn't printed. It stopped printing before the pandemic, and I think it was going to happen regardless. But the pandemic kind of escalated that timeline. Um, and I think they just kind of steal stories from the TL and put it on the Weekender website, so it's like
Hmm.
updated that way. But like, it's not like there's not dedicated columnists like like with you. There, I remember back in the day we would like plan out the cover each week, and we would like get local people involved in it and like do cover shoots and things like that.
Yeah.
That's long gone. That's been long gone. It's probably been 5 years since that's actually happened. Um, so I hate to even talk about them to give them more like publicity, but
Hmm.
I mean, in the same sense, like I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for that paper.
Yeah.
It's sad to see what happened to it, and I mean, it's a lot of things. It's the internet, it's ownership, it's
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of one of those things that just gets swallowed up with time and technology, and just, like, I mean, who would have ever, like, but it was it. I mean, you looked Tuesdays, and I mean, you remember people would be calling, uh, you know, um, Arena Bar Girl would be like, I didn't get my delivery.
They were,
You remember?
oh
And
yeah, there's
like people were like, if they didn't get it for their
freaking out,
restaurant, they were
freaking out.
freaking out, because that's what people walked in. They're like, where's the Weekender? I mean, that was it. So,
I mean, I hope to have Jim McDonald on, who was the founder of the Weekender.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. He actually just responded to my friend request on Facebook, so like we're best friends now. And yeah, we'll
Sweet.
see what happens.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this. It's been awesome to catch up with you.
It's
Um,
it's been awesome for me too. This is really cool. And I'm just so happy for you. I can't wait to listen. I'm a podcast junkie, so I'm, you know, you've got
Well,
a follower in me.
sweet. Spotify, Apple,
Yeah.
Stitcher. I think it's on Amazon now. I forget.
I'm on a I'm a Spotify girl. That's like totally my jam.
Yeah,
So
I was a big Apple guy, but then Joe Rogan went exclusive to Spotify. So
I know. I love Joe Rogan. I know you love Joe Rogan too. I'm not as big a fan of as you are, but you know, I mean,
that's a
I love podcasts. Oh yeah.
that's a Joe Rogan bust that I would hide on my
I
wife.
yeah, your wife got that for you?
She did. It was a birthday present one year,
Oh,
and it's
I
probably her like biggest regret. Yeah, so I dress him up in like holiday stuff now. Like he's in the bar right now, but
well,
when she first bought it for me, I would like put it throughout the house, and she hates it.
it's a natural progression. I mean, it's like, who knows? You could be the next Joe Rogan,
If I could be
number
like,
one.
if I could be NEPA's Joe Rogan, that would be fine with me. Not that I
I
want to
think,
limit myself to be, just NEPA, especially on a digital platform. But I mean, my goal with this is to provide people with like, a place to, for entertainment, discovery. I talk about, um, people going through things. I did Sober October, and people reached out to me saying,
yeah.
hey, I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. Like you've inspired me to also, attempt it. Or I had people reach out to me who thought I had a legitimate problem, saying, hey man, you can do it. Don't give up. Like, I'm like, I don't really have a problem. Like I'm just a weird fan of Joe Rogan and he does Sober October. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it was
Mm-hmm.
cool to see, um, people kind of come out of the woodworks and, be supportive and things like that. And I think I keep saying this in everything I talk about now anymore, but like, I feel like there's moments or certain things that happen in people's lives where they're made to feel like they should be embarrassed of those things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for instance, my wife and I, we've experienced 3 losses in the past year, trying to have a second child. So
Yeah, I actually just listened to that on your podcast. I'm so sorry. I didn't know
it's,
that.
yeah, I mean, it's again, going to what you just said, you didn't know that. Like it's not supposed, not that it's not
Yeah,
supposed,
no,
but it's
there's
we've
a
been
stigma.
conditioned.
Like,
Yeah, we've been
yeah, people
conditioned.
don't
It's
talk
like,
about it.
yeah, it's don't talk about it. Like, and obviously, it's much different for a female than it is a male. Like, this third time was crushing to both of us. I mean, I don't want to say I shook the first 2 off because that's not the right term, but I I did my best to be strong for her and move things forward. But like this third time was like for both of us, it was just an absolute nightmare. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what I want to get into. I want people to be able to, if they hear something like that being talked about, feel that they can open up and talk to other people about it, because it shouldn't be kept a secret. You shouldn't be made to feel like you're alone
I
in that
totally
moment.
agree.
And
Yeah.
we're not going to move those things forward by not talking about it. So like,
Yeah, and you have no idea the things that you talk about, who that's going to affect. And there's so many people, like I know that Infant Loss Awareness Day has become, you know, it's an actual day now. And I
yeah,
have so many friends who have
yeah,
posted that
yeah,
they've lost children. And it's just, and I have a friend who lost baby very right before she was due. And one of the biggest things is she's just like, I want my child to be remembered. She was real, and she's called by name. And so it's just, but it's these things that, like, yeah, for so long people just didn't talk about, and so they suffer alone. And I
yeah.
totally agree with you.
That's
And if this gives you any sort of like platform for people to like just talk about the things that are going on, it's just awesome. You have no idea the amount of people you're going to affect, even just opening up and saying that. I had no clue, and I just listened to that, and it's just like, wow, like, I'm glad I knew that. And like, your wife shouldn't have to go through that alone, or the two of you together, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely something that you don't ever think about, obviously. It's
Yeah,
not something you ever think about. I mean, we had, Lincoln there was no issue. None.
right.
It
Yep.
was almost a perfect pregnancy. Like, it, I just can't imagine people going through that and not having anyone to talk to or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's not a situation that I would wish on anybody.
And I think that's a reason that podcasts have become as, you know, popular as they are, because we all just need this like form of communication, whether or not we're just listening. It's just, we feel this like connection, like there's so many, whatever your genre of podcast is, it's just like there's communities built around it. And it's just like, if you literally want to listen to something, you can just queue it up, and you could, like self-help or anything, religious, anything, you could just, and you're there, and you are able to, and you might not be connecting one-on-one, but you're at least hearing from somebody who is going through it, and you can relate, and I think that's been a huge thing in this whole 9 months of, where we've been more isolated, is just all the avenues we have to connect with other people. And even the fact that we're doing this, had there been a pandemic, we probably wouldn't have caught up and like been like hanging out on a Monday night,
Yeah,
like just talking. It's just, there's blessings in all the little things, but I just, definitely this platform, that you have is just going to open up a lot of doors and a lot of lines of communication. So
I
it's
hope
really
so.
cool.
I hope so.
It's cool. It's really,
So,
really cool. I'm so excited for you. I'm so glad I got to be your first guest.
thank you.
Hopefully everybody else doesn't show me up, but I know, like, I mean,
You set the bar pretty high.
you're going to have so much fun with everybody. I can't wait to listen and
Yeah,
just relive some of these stories. So,
I can't wait either. I mean,
yeah.
I haven't talked to Damien since he left. I mean, like,
Oh, I know. Me
when I
too.
say talk, like, an occasional Facebook message, but like that's it. And he was such a riot.
Oh, I love Damien. I
Yeah,
mean, we were so close. It makes me sad. I wish we stayed connected more, but I mean, it's
it's
life, but it's
hard.
just
It's
all
hard.
fond memories.
It's so hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this. Tell your husband I said hello,
I
and best
will.
of luck in his, new business. That's awesome. Good for him.
Thank you.
Um,
And thank you so much for having me. I just think this
oh,
is really cool. I'm just so happy for you. And, most importantly, I'm just happy of your, beautiful life, your wife and Lincoln. He's just adorable, and you're just killing it. So just keep doing what you're doing.
thank you. Thank you.
And yeah, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I will let you know when this goes up.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Okay.
Leslie, thanks
All
so
right.
much again.
All right. Talk to you soon, John.
All right, see ya.
All right. Bye.
All right, we're done. I think recording. No, we're still recording.
Are
We're
we
still
recording?
recording. Stop recording.